Hi, everyone. Today is Wednesday, October 20th of 2021, and we are here for Rudy's Psychic Meetup, which, of course, we can't have that without Rudy, who, of course, is here
That's right.
tonight with me. Yes, and I'm
Ev-
Samantha Jane.
Everyone, and we got a full moon tonight, Sam. So we'll see what kind of woo woo we get on our full moon woo woo Wednesday.
Well, so much for everybody talking about the 20th being like a pullback day because
Yeah.
the crypto market went bonkers, didn't it? But that's what we felt was going to happen as it runs towards 3 trillion. I was very excited today, but I mean, I'm happy to talk about Woo tonight.
Yeah.
We've got cryptos tomorrow.
Well, I couldn't help but notice tonight the way it exploded through $64,000, which is a number that's been mentioned in quite a few places. So I'm looking forward to you guys talking about that tomorrow with Moo Ant. But
Yeah.
tonight's topic, I want to thank Queen Maria for inspiring this one. We're going to look at the links between the physical and the ethereal. So a little biomolecular science here. We're going to look at DMT, which has been called the God particle, and then also the VMAT2 gene, which is in humans. It's also been called the God gene. So we want to see how these things in our body, chemicals and genes, can really see if they have any impact on how we connect with the other side. So should be interesting. All right, well, let's kick off. And the first thing I want to talk about is DMT. I'll just give some background on what this is. So, dimethyltryptamine, it's a hallucinogenic tryptamine drug, and it occurs naturally in many plants and animals and in humans. And it's produced by the human body naturally, but it can also be extracted from plants. So, if you've heard of ayahuasca, that's really what they're doing with that. And it can be used as a recreational psychedelic drug. You know, Joe Rogan talks a lot about his DMT trips in various cultures will use it in shamanic rituals. So, it's probably lesser known than LSD or these mushrooms, but apparently DMT produces a brief but intense visual and auditory hallucinogenic experience that people think is, very spiritual. So in the US, it's a Schedule 1 drug, which means it's a controlled substance. You can't buy it, manufacturer possess it, high potential for abuse, basically all those kinds of things. But what I want to focus on, Sam, is the DMT that's produced in our body. So not people that go on these ayahuasca trips, but how it actually occurs within the body. Um, so the structure of DMT, it occurs within some of these other biomolecules like serotonin, melatonin, things that really control our brain chemistry. And there was a doctor, Dr. Rick Strassman, and he was an associate professor of psychiatry at the University of New Mexico School of Medicine. And he focused on DMT in the 1990s. And this was after spending some time researching melatonin, the pineal gland. And he had a theory that DMT was actually made in the pineal gland in humans. So, Sam, it's been kind of tough for scientists to prove this, but can the people on this side show you where does the human body produce DMT? Is it in the pineal gland, or is it really in a lot of different places within the body?
I don't have an answer for that one
Okay.
in particular. I do have some comments about ayahuasca and a few
Oh
of those
yeah.
things, but you can go through and ask I knew you were probably going to ask me anyways.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about this because sorry, my wife's
I
got people over.
Yeah, I mean, my little girl here, she can Bronx is a girl and she just put her head up. She can I'm like the headphones are on. How can she even hear that dog barking? But
Everyone knows I have
again,
a show right now,
their
but
their
yes,
their hearing is better than ours. Sorry.
but we've talked about ayahuasca before,
Yeah.
and kind of your advice that it's a shortcut and it's really not advisable. But what do you get on when you hear things like ayahuasca?
Um, what do I get when I hear
Yeah, I mean,
ayahuasca?
what kind of comments do you
Danger. Oh my
danger?
gosh, danger. Holy smokes. I'm like, okay, well, remember this that when I'm crossing over into, because I believe that you do cross into a spiritual realm, like part of the ethos, what's up there. And that's where I run through, right? To get the information from. That's what they told me. They said, this is what you run through to get your information from the other side. And this is why I need spirit guides, or else they would just, because people are like, oh, what did your spirit guides tell you? And I'm like, not too much, but they got a pretty good sword and shield, and they pull me out of the way from getting clobbered. Or, like, I mean, the best thing to do is for me to just explain it. Oh my gosh, I can't believe she's getting started again. I just thought about this earlier, and there's nobody here to rescue
Oh
me.
no,
Oh my gosh.
my dog.
No, well, she sees me talking and she probably thinks I'm having a conversation with her, but I'm not. If it gets really bad, I'll get some PB in the KONG.
Yeah, there you go.
You guys who know, you know what I'm talking about. If you have a dog, right, there's always something you can get, but she's got her head down now, so she's settled. But yes, I just wanted to point that out to people. Like, I don't want to tell people what to do, but when you use, I call them tools of divination. And this has actually come up a lot this week. So when you sent me the thing about the DMT, I was like, oh yeah, because anybody who's watched it's her name, Elizabeth, it's she just died in 2019. She was the one that they did the movie The Conjuring about. Ed and
Okay.
something Warren.
Oh
Was it
yeah, Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth
Yes.
Warren. Yeah.
Yeah, and she was a medium, and I think that she was a medium very similar to the type of medium my daughter is. That
Okay.
just occurred to me this week, because my daughter, she likes to go into haunted places, and she still sees
Yeah.
the dark shadow people and stuff, right? So, but she's got at least one other friend who also sees the shadow people, so they go together with
Okay.
other kids. It's kind of, it's typical teenager medium stuff. But Elizabeth Warren, she explained that you can't play with this stuff. Like, she said she never had the fear of the demons and things like that, and I don't either, because I have speaking in tongues. I would just speak in tongues.
Yeah.
And my mother asked me a while back when she found out about my grandfather. And I mean, the one, he never touched me because I put a little beating on him when I was about 13, and he got the message pretty loud and clear. But just to make a long story short, what I didn't tell my mother when she asked me, well, why did you keep going there if he was, after you, and you had to lock yourself in the bathroom, and, and then after I took care of him when I was 13, because I was very strong as a competitive cheerleader, he never touched me after that, because I really did scare the bejesus out of him. But I knew that there were demonic entities in that house, and that was probably what drove him to molest his daughter,
Okay.
my sister, his granddaughter, but she was adopted. And I felt like I could protect her. Even when I was a kid, I felt like I had the ability to protect her because they couldn't touch me. And there was a reason for that, but I didn't know why. Right. I just kind of was going with it. Right. And I worry about people taking this drug who don't have the protection that I have, because I couldn't do what I do. Like, I couldn't, people book readings with me, and it's like I'm agreeing to run to the other side and get some information that will help change your life, make life better for you, and help you with some problems you have, and maybe relieve some anxiety, and maybe pick a few cryptos too, so that you can help the world and make a difference. It's all good. It's all good things that I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
But I have protection to do that. And there's those of us here who were sent, born, there's a percentage of us on the planet who are born with these abilities, and they're considered talents that you must put to work for the rest of humanity. You cannot use them for yourself, right? You must use them for others. So when people get into things like DMT, I'm worried about it, because I think about it like, playing with a Ouija board. Listen, not everybody has a demonic entity follow them home. But if you are somebody who has like a twinkle of abilities, like, they'll find you those things, right? But you won't know how to protect yourself, or like, you're just going looking for trouble,
And it's like a
It-
shortcut. I think a lot of people use it as a shortcut and a fun experience. And if you don't build up to it, or you like, I think there's a guru who was saying that, look, if you just clear your mind every day and sit and meditate, you'll be, 100 times what DMT can give you.
I just think that, once again, humanity has figured out a way to, get themselves in even bigger trouble than previous generations. I thought it was the atom bomb, but nope,
Right.
now you're DMT. Now you're like sending your little soul out there without any protection, just
Okay.
waving around the universe. And do you get some enlightened? Do you have like, enlightened beings visit you? Yeah, sure you do. But some of them, you don't know where they're from. They could be demons disguised, because you see, I can even tell when I go into a house and there are spirits. I know if it's a demonic spirit because it's non-human, it's never lived a life here, it's not one of us, right?
Okay.
Or is it one of us who has passed on and is just coming back to relive memories, or is it someone caught in between?
Yeah.
But I mean, most people, they don't have a clue about any of that stuff, and then they'll take this DMT and they'll go on this little trip and they'll have all these little visits and stuff. And I'm worried too, that, and I wonder if there's any stories of people returning home from South America, maybe where they take it or whatever
Mhm.
vacation destination, they've turned it into a destination as well. And you know what, listen, if it didn't cause problems for people, I would have no problem with that. I'm not a killjoy. I mean, listen, if you have an
Yeah.
opportunity to experience something deep and meaningful, to once again prove to you that, you're not alone, that life goes on after your experience here, you are part of something bigger. I think those are all positive things. I'm just really worried about people, again, just diving into something they don't know what they're doing. And then they could end up having something just like the people who do the ghost hunting.
All right.
Like my daughter, she's got protection, so she can go into these places, and she's even helped some of the little kids that were trapped here because
Okay.
there was a big natural disaster here,
Hmm.
and it killed a lot of children instantly, and who were going to school that morning, walking to school. It was an explosion, and a tidal wave came and took them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so a
Okay.
lot of instant deaths
Yeah.
happened in this town, like just, oh, well, it was before my time, but I've noticed, but she's seen them, and she's helped send them over to the other side. So
Wow.
I'm really happy about that, that she's already doing those little baby steps to doing the type of stuff that Elizabeth Warren was doing for
Okay.
humanity. I mean, she's not around anymore, but she did say, the video I watched of her today, she was like, I'll never quit doing this. And I was like, oh, darling, you sound like me. Because I was like, yep, I'm going to do this up until the week before I die. And then I'll just be too ill.
Well, see, it sounds like what you're saying though is when people take this, this manufactured DMT, it still has the effect. So they actually are having spiritual experiences. But one of the things that this Dr. Strassman theorized was that DMT is released during the time of death and during near-death experiences. So, do you get a sense that that is correct, Sam? That somehow when you're preparing to go, that your body produces DMT and helps you connect with that other side? Is that one of the things that
Yes.
physically happens?
Yes. I
Okay.
believe that is one of the things. That's why people talk about, oh, my wife's here now, or my
Yeah.
mother's here. Oh, my dad's
Okay.
here. Oh, my dog is here. Look at my
Yeah.
dog. My dog has arrived. I'm like, yeah, sometimes your animals, if that's who you're closer to,
Okay.
our pets live on the other side because they're living beings as
Yeah.
well. They're not light beings like we are. Like they don't run the universe. They're not part of source like we are, right? They can't create things with their mind, but they're created for our enjoyment and
Yeah.
to help, sort of fulfill our needs as light beings. And we like to create things, and we like to create other living things, and our cats and dogs are, and whether it's or a parakeet or your iguana, whatever it is. Listen, speaking of animals,
Yeah.
Fred's cat has cancer, and I just wanted to pray in tongues tonight for Fred's cat who has
Oh yeah.
cancer. Hashadia boreana sikidiana bolia sitian osashotiama Lodia do sikadia lo sima shudian, Litiano simian, Lodia washukudia lo sinia, Akasia, Osamoyaro, Yadoshomiana. Well, that got my dog's attention.
Oh,
She immediately
interesting.
put her head up and started looking around. What's mom doing?
So Sam, when you're connecting like that or praying in tongues, and that's what I was wondering too, because you've mentioned before that when you feel a spirit pass through you, it's kind of like you get the goosebumps. And I've mentioned like when I'm connecting, I will get the tingles on my back around that crown chakra, or if I'm like almost praying, I kind of get like these waves. Does DMT have any part in those experiences, or is that something else that our body is reacting to when we kind of sense those energies?
Oh, that's very interesting. I don't think that it has anything to do with DMT.
Okay.
It is an actual physical sensation. I feel the same as if, like I've gotten the chills before,
Yeah.
and all that it is, it's actually, it's from about here to about my chest right
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
And what happens is they come from the back,
Yeah.
go through me about that much space, they go this way, and then they go that way. And I got that today when I was answering like a very important question, like one that I'm
Yes.
always scared to answer, which is about somebody's potential death when they get this really bad, scary diagnosis that
Yeah.
a lot of people do die from, especially women. But I'm always afraid, because I'm always like, is that just wishful thinking or what have you? But it's kind of like I know the difference now at
Okay.
this point in my abilities. But then it's still nice when you get somebody passing through you saying, "Atta girl, that's right. You did
Yeah.
get it right."
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I always make me wonder what's the physical cause of that? Is it one of these genes or these molecules? But he also talked about in meditation that they find people with these DMT experiences. It's very similar to people that have a psychedelic a profound meditation experience, where you can kind of deconstruct reality. And
Mhm.
so, Sam, that was kind of the last question: is do you think that the brain produces DMT during meditation, or somehow our body is when we're meditating that we can affect these types of changes?
Hmm. I don't know if it has anything to do with DMT.
Okay.
It's because it's not the chemical that invokes it. It is the your what you're doing with your mind where you're clearing your mind.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, because they've done brain scans too. It's interesting on how, like, if you people that meditate, they, if you take a baseline and then people that meditate or meditated over, several months, they kind of have this frontal lobe is more active all the time. And maybe when I saw that, it made me think about you, what you've been going through for the past 2 years, probably how your brain is changing in the way that you're connecting more and more frequently. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, oh,
really.
it's definitely up in here. Like, I
Oh,
can almost feel it like
okay.
that when I'm in fact, even when I'm, like, actually seeing things with my eyes, like,
Yeah.
remember I told you the sky kinda opens and it's
Uh-huh.
like a little video camera? I feel some kind of a, like, pressure on my frontal lobe, if you can believe it.
Interesting.
And now that
Yeah.
you've mentioned it, I was like, "Oh, I should probably tell him."
There's definitely increased blood flow that happens, and that's what they
Yeah,
see in these CT
yeah,
scans. So, oh, cool. Okay.
yeah.
Well, the next topic is an actual gene. It's called the VMAT2 gene, and this is the one that
Mhm.
Queen Maria brought to my attention. So this one has been reported as nicknamed the God gene, and some of these things kind of get catchy names, right? Whether or not they're true.
Yes.
But humans kind of we wander through consciousness. What's the link there? We know that techniques like remote viewing seem to suggest that consciousness is non-local, but genetic researchers have also been looking for like genetic base of our spirituality or our spiritual connections. So VMAT2, this is a neurotransmitter transporter gene, and it packages monoamine neurotransmitters within the cells. So think of like dopamine, serotonin, adrenaline, histamine. These are all neurotransmitters that involve, thinking, physical movement, pain, emotion, things that affect our brain chemistry. And there's a molecular geneticist, Dean Hamer, and he first coined the term God gene in a book he wrote, The God Gene How Our Faith is Hardwired into Our Genes. And really, he kind of constructed a study and did like 2,000 different DNA samples. And then he asked the volunteers some questions. And he found that people that were more spiritual, or these based on his questions that were more like connected spiritually, he found that they all shared this VMAT2 gene, and it's kind of it's a correlation there. But Sam, what do you think about this particular gene VMAT2? Does this somehow have the way it affects, I guess, the what goes in and out of our cells? Does this have an effect on our spirituality or how we perceive spiritual experiences? Do you think?
No, there is an actual code in the DNA that can be identified. So, for example, and this is what'll make it I don't think it was an accident that I've had two children and they both have different fathers. I was like, yeah, what's that about? What kind of medium am I, right? Why can't I just make the the right choice the first time, right? But again, I would say that probably the biggest trouble I've gotten myself into in my life is when I didn't listen
Yeah,
to the people on the other side. And now I do, right?
yeah,
Like now that I'm older, I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Stop trying to talk yourself out of being a really good medium because you know this stuff, you can do it. You're just wasting time with this BS of, oh, that probably wasn't it. Maybe it's something, if you
it's just
guys
a
think you do,
coincidence.
yeah, if you
Yeah.
think if you do that, I like did that and wasted so many years of my life doing that. But I also feel like I was kept under wraps for this period of time because again, if I had become a famous medium, like 10 years ago, then I could probably become a target very easily for those
Right.
who do not want the Great Awakening to continue. I mean, you can just see how it's going to like roll right over top of everybody. It's pretty
Yeah.
awesome. Now we're in the Whitewater Rapids, but yeah, as far as that goes, there is an actual DNA. And I bring up my kids because I wouldn't mind. One of the things that I do in the future is having somebody, if some researcher called me and said, we would like your DNA, your sons and your daughters, and we would like to look and see
Okay.
if they're what it is that you guys have in common and see if we can identify the medium gene, because both of my children have very obvious abilities and significant. They're not like a little bit psychic or,
Yeah.
oh, they have high intuition. That's not what's going on here. This is they full blown see dark man and can read people's minds. Sometimes they read my mind. It's a little bit crazy making, but I mean, what's a parent going to do, right? What you going to do?
Yeah, that's awesome. So I wrote that down, the psychic gene or the medium gene, because really that's what I was wondering. Is it a chemical? Is it a DNA? Is it genetic? So that'll be cool. That I bet you we will hear tell of that in the future. Of they have identified they identify genes that or code that does all this other stuff right in your DNA. So that'll
Yeah.
probably be
Oh
one to
yeah.
come.
Listen, if my daughter, if she doesn't want to have kids, I'll be like, save your eggs. You can sell them for lots of money for people
So-
who want to have medium kids who are mediums. You
that's
don't want it
right.
to end there. What a shame, if you don't pass on the medium gene. Because like I said, she's, it's very obvious. And I am going to assume that it will continue on with
Yeah.
every single one of any of the children they have, because the statistical odds of me only having two children and both of them being, have significant abilities. And I think that they'll even be better than I am by the time they're my age, just because I'm teaching them everything that I know in the same way that I just blab to you guys everything I know. And whoever are the up and coming mediums in the group, it'll just help them, because I mean, if they're 30 something, oh my God, if I could listen, if someone could have gotten a hold of me 20 years ago, or if I could have joined a group, I know I've said this before, but there's some new people in the crowd, and I cannot tell you how great this has been for me as a
Yeah.
grand experiment. But then it's symbiotic, where I'm spilling the beans 100%, so everybody will be able to freely access information to identify whether or not they have mediumistic abilities, what type of abilities they have, and most importantly, do their kids have abilities, and are
Yeah.
these things in between attacking them? Like, man, they went after me like, not
Yeah.
it wasn't fun, but like I said, I do believe I have some protection. Bronx, be quiet. I'm ready
Well,
to
that'll
go
be
get her
cool.
some PB in a moment.
Oh
We'll
yeah.
see if we can get into the questions in
Okay.
a minute. And
We should get some brain CT of their brain scans. It'll be interesting to see how those are over the
yeah.
years as well as they develop. So, all right, let's jump into the question, Sam. We have 16 so far, and the first one with 9 votes is from Caitlin. It says, "Hi, Sam and Rudy. It feels like we are reaching a turning point energetically on the planet. More and more people are awakened to the truth. Do you see the truth about everything being exposed to the masses anytime soon? And when do you see this blowing over?"
Yeah, so thanks for that great question, Caitlin. No wonder it has 9 upvotes. I do see it happening soon. When I was describing us entering the Whitewater Rapids a few months ago at the beginning of the fall, the this is it's starting now, and a really big part again is people being deprived. And I mean, geez, this was not very good planning from the politicians, but you know what? They can't help it. A lot of people go on, oh, it's the deep state. Oh, it's that. I'm telling you right now, it's because you guys, all of you, us, I should say, not you, us, are electing over and over again for many countries. I'm not going to say all, and I'm not going to say all people are criminals, but there are an awful lot of criminals who are not in jail. There's so many people breaking laws, for example, in the American Congress when it comes to insider trading. If I was Martha Stewart, I would have a lawyer right now, and I would be suing some butts, right, for
Yeah.
a double standard. It's pretty significant. So I see, like within the next year, it is just in some parts of the world, it is going to be explosive, and it's going to get very, very scary. So anybody who is working in because they'll even go after bureaucrats.
Okay.
So people who work in these areas, they need to be careful, and they need to make sure that they get on board with the people. So if somebody's a police officer, if you are ordered to, if you're told, oh yeah, you can take someone down when you're fining them and that kind of thing, like be aggressive to them. The problem you're going to run into as a police officer is that the bystanders are now going to come and kick your bottom, because
Yeah.
what they're going to do is they don't have any aggression against the police in particular, but they see you as a representative of the government
Hmm.
taking them down. And now, maybe before, when it was just a few people lost their jobs and were devastated, but now it just keeps piling on. Now they couldn't see, Nana when she was dying in the hospital,
Yeah.
right? And their wife lost her job, or dad lost his job and now he's drinking again. All of these bad things that happened as a result, just unintended consequences,
Hmm.
like
Do you think
and
Australia will be the first
Australia.
one? Yeah, that seems to get a lot of. There's a lot of good stuff going, or not good stuff, but bad stuff going on there.
Well, the stuff that I saw, that the people were rising up and pushing back, and I was quite proud of them for standing up. And I did predict that they would go after police officers. And I was thinking today about when I said about, that the police need to be careful because, again, we need our police and we need them. They're like us. And it's a shame that these government hacks and no talents and people making this stuff and just creating so many problems, all these unintended consequences, and they're giving them an impossible job. They telling them that they have to fine residents. And I felt so bad when this woman was taken down in a park in Australia by like 6 police officers.
Yeah.
And I was so glad that there was a man there with a microphone and a camera. And he was like, you don't get to use this is illegal. You don't get to use your powers against the people. I don't care if some government person told you you have the right to do this. And this is going to get bigger and bigger. And then boom, it's going to explode. And I feel like, okay, Australia, yes, things are going to happen. The UK, oh my gosh, like, I don't know, just get out if you can.
Yes. Yeah.
Get out if you can. And, and I mean, you will have time. So don't worry. But it's not like, when you were in France and the Luftwaffe came and was dropping all these bombs. And if you were in that city, then you better be in a basement or a bomb shelter somewhere, right? It's not going to be like war where your life is going to be, oh no, I got caught. I didn't expect this. It would be like, okay, Sam was talking about this. I'm seeing it now. The riots have been going on for 4 days straight. People are going to tire themselves out and need to take a break. And I'm going to make a run for it with my cryptos at that point.
Okay.
So that's what I have to tell people over and over again. Try not to worry too much. Know that you can get out.
All right. Good advice, Sam. Raymond's question, and with also 9 upvotes. Hello, Sam and Rudy. We keep hearing how the Earth experiment is so important to other life forms. Why are they so fascinated with us? There must be trillions of planets that support life, and each one must have unique life forms. Is it because they want to learn from us, or are we possibly test subjects to be considered for lives somewhere else? Thanks.
Well, let me tell you, Raymond, that the people who are talking about the Earth experiment are probably people who, once again, the no talents, pretending that they have some kind of inside track to the truth. And I'm telling you right now, unless they exhibit to you ability similar to what I've exhibited, do not listen to them. They are charlatans and fakes. And that was one of the reasons why I am completely put off, disrespected. And there's people in high finance who even watch my channel who would never admit it because I am a psychic medium. And it's because these people who make all this stuff up, the charlatans, and 95% of the people in my industry are total and complete fakes, and they fleece you for your money. And we've had and I call people out for it. I've had a few people post in on Discord, and I'm just like, yeah, I've never heard of that person. And I don't know, have they actually predicted anything? Or are you just passing on what somebody decided, one morning when they woke up to type out on their Twitter or something like that, right? There's some lady who's doing these crypto predictions and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't care about her. I don't care about her opinion. Listen, I am far more interested in listening to what people who've got 20, 30, or 40 years in finance have to say. And I'm much more interested in, give me the information, like how's the bond market doing? Like, is the COMEX still printing paper like crazy? What's going on there? Like, I'm more interested in the actual facts and stuff than listening to these people. I mean, this is just total and complete hooey, Raymond. You are a smart guy, and I know that because you hang out with me. And I only hang out with smart people, right? I always look for, I want people smarter than me for sure, right? And I enjoy our group. I find the intelligence for me is quite stimulating, and I don't want you wasting your time with listening to these people that are, listen, the aliens, from what I know, the little teeny tiny bit that the people on the other side have shared with me, um, the same way that they shared with me the mileage that somebody was going to have on their car when they bought it. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, they're giving me information. I'll just tell you guys what it is. If it can't be proven, again, you need to take it with a grain of salt, even from me, if it can't be proven. But I'm telling you, it's not that we're so important. They are just curious. We are one of many things, but the no talents who are writing books need to go on tour, and they need your dollars to support them, right? They want you to donate money. They want you to come to seminars. They want you to buy their books. They want you to join. They want you to send them money every month, right? Because they don't want to live in the real world. They want to live in a la la land where they believe that they know this information, and they don't. And that's what the people on the other side tell me. They're like, yeah, most of them are. And if there is somebody who is actually communicating with aliens, I would want to see proof that they can communicate with the people on the other side and have predictions come true, not just one or two things that they vaguely blab about.
Right.
You know what I mean? Some people are vague blabbers, and I'm just like, listen, no.
All right, thanks, Sam. Fire Dragon's question. Hi, Sam and Rudy. Sam, could you see how AI will affect and interact with humans farther out in the years to come? According to ex-Google software engineer Mo Gaudet, by the year 2029, AI will be as intelligent as humans, and by 2045, AI could be 1 billion times smarter than us. Thank you. Much love, Fire Dragon.
Well, I feel confident in saying that there is no way that this ex-Google software engineer could say for sure. He's just giving estimates and things like that. I don't feel like this AI is anything to be afraid of. I don't see problems coming from that. I see us using AI more for, care of our elderly, for example,
Okay.
right? And, some of the more like in factories and dangerous jobs too that people used to risk their lives to do. Now we have robots doing it. So again, I only see AI as a good thing. I don't see bad things coming from that in the future. I mean, I'm sure some human will figure out a way to abuse it and create something bad out of it, but
Yeah.
we'll snuff it out pretty quick. I'm not too
Okay.
worried.
All right. Scotty E writes, Hi, Sam and Rudy. In many traditions, there are offerings given to the gods or spirits, notably the American Indian, whom offer burning tobacco as their connected medium of appeasement and gift to the Great Spirit. Within psychic mediumship, is there a physical offering that assists bridging the span between spirit and us? As I understand, sage is a cleanser, maybe more akin to deterrent rather than a gift to a spirit. Any insights? Thanks.
I agree. Sage is a cleanser, and it's more of a deterrent for negative entities, which make it nice for those people who are just wandering through from the other side. There is like no physical offerings that will bridge the span between you and the other side. There's only actions,
Okay. That's
so
what I
they're
wonder is when you do offer a gift, is that action seen from the spirits on the other side, and maybe that's spirits who haven't crossed over yet, but is that, I guess, maybe taken as a positive? That's what I always wonder is how spirits would interpret the act of a gift of tobacco or pouring out some liquor.
Well, it's more along the lines of, when you're going into the sandwich shop to get your lunch, to get two sandwiches and give one of them to the homeless guy sitting there on the side of the
Okay.
street. These are the things that I'm talking about, just being more aware of your surroundings. And also don't create drama in your life. Like, don't hang out with people that are bad people. You watch them treating other people badly. It's your turn eventually. And besides, why would you want to hang out with somebody who treats other people like that? I've done a really great job of keeping my life as clean as possible. I don't have like crappy people around me at all. Like, I
Yeah.
don't tolerate anybody crappy. I'm just like, nah, no, I don't think so. Well, what do they think? I don't care. If they have a problem with it, tell them to call me,
Yeah.
right? And I'll tell them. I'll tell them right over the phone, because the only place I'm calling somebody son of a bitch is over the phone, because I'm not going to even bother to show up at their party, right? So that's
Right.
probably my biggest tip is, actually through your actions, be considerate of other people and just make that part of your life. And, the people on the other side are more likely to use you for good things and communicate with you if, you know, you're
Yeah.
not a self-centered jerk.
All right. Kid Totoro's question. Kid Totoro writes, "Hi, Sam and Rudy. The forbidden land of uh, Agar,
Agartha?
Agathar, yeah, or Inner Earth. Is this true, or could there be advanced life not just outside of our planet, but right here at the very center? If yes, why are the elites or the government hiding it from us? And do you see it soon being exposed or rediscovered?"
Well, I feel like one of the places, if they come here to stay for any length of time at all,
Mhm.
which they don't, they're not here for any length of time, and it's different groups. They Many of them will, like, some will hide behind the moon,
Okay.
others will and just go with that, and others will like go under the ocean.
Mhm.
So that's a possibility as well. The governments are hiding it from us because they are worried that people will freak out and that it'll be a challenge to religion as well. That's
Yeah.
another thing too, is that people who are religious a lot of them will freak out if they know that aliens are. And a lot of people always switch to the negative side of things, which is, oh, well, they're going to come here and kill all of us and take everything, all of our clean water, all of our mountain snow, all of our, or they're going to take us away and enslave us. It's always negative, negative, negative. And I'm not saying that none of that stuff couldn't potentially happen. I'm just saying that right now we're in good shape because only the scientists have found us. The
Okay.
science relate, and most of the aliens are advanced. They've advanced out of war. I'm not saying all of them have. I'm just saying that most of the civilizations, from what I'm seeing, have advanced out
Okay.
of and away from being warlike and needing resources from other places.
Okay. And what about that hollow Earth theory that there's great stories out there, but the theory is like Google Maps, they hide the opening at at the top of the Earth in the Arctic region. Is the Earth solid, Sam? Is it a solid sphere?
Yes.
Okay. So nothing in the inside. It's more those the Antarctic area that where we've talked about before.
Yeah, where there's caves there. Those
Yep.
are natural, they are naturally created dwellings that are underneath, and because they are so far underground,
Yep.
the warmth of the earth and the water and anyways, it's pretty fascinating. And I really wish that they would give people the opportunity to sort of
Mhm.
go on vacation there. I mean, it
Yeah.
would be, it's, you're using up a lot of carbon, a big carbon footprint, but hey, I mean, obviously, if somebody who's in government uses pulls some strings to go down and actually see it, because they hear about it, right? Other people tell them about it, and then
Yeah.
they want to go. And then before they leave in government and they're high enough up where they can pull those strings, they go down and they look at it as well. And I'm like, well, isn't that great for you? But why don't you let
Yeah.
the rest of humanity? Some of us might want to take and charter a plane down there ourselves and go down and take a look.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Next question from VM. I love this question. The Giant of Kandahar, fact or fiction? Fact or fiction? In 2002, a group of U.S. Special Forces shot and killed a large humanoid creature while on a reconnaissance mission in the mountains of Afghanistan. Giant was reported to be over 10 feet tall and weigh over 1,000 pounds. And Sam, this is when I heard it. I think the interview was with the pilot, and there was a story of these Marines that encountered a giant that was actually started killing the Marines. They had to send out another patrol to go find out what happened to this patrol. So when they killed the giant, they put it on a giant pallet, and it was on a C-130, and they flew it back somewhere. So Sam, is this story? Do you think it's true? Did they actually kill a giant in Afghanistan?
I do believe that these giants existed, and I'm feeling like that was a true story. Did the local village, did they not have knowledge of this giant? They knew about him, didn't they?
I want to. That sounds right, and I
I
think we
think they
briefly
did.
touched on this before, and like
Yeah.
knew to stay away, knew to stay away from that area. But yeah, and you have mentioned before about the Giants that there might be one or two still around, but nothing like what it was before.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Just like the Loch Ness monster was left
Mhm.
over from prehistoric times, but maybe the last, I'm not sure if the last one has died out yet or
Yeah.
not, but I know that I felt like when my dad was in Scotland, he went to Loch Ness,
Uh,
and I was very hopeful that he would see the Loch Ness monster when I was a little girl. And I asked him when he got home if he had seen the Loch Ness monster. And my mom actually went
yeah.
there to visit him because it was 6 months he had to spend in Scotland. Um, so I remember feeling at that time in my life that the Loch Ness monster really was real. It was almost like the people on the other side had already explained to me that, because I was really into dinosaurs in grade 2. And this
Okay.
was, I think, in grade 4, my dad
Yeah.
went to. So, but they showed me which dinosaur it was related to in the
Oh,
book, the
cool.
people on the
Okay.
other side. Yeah. So then that's why I was so fascinated with it. And oh my gosh, my dad is going to Loch Ness, and that's what it is. It's one of these things. And I was so sure about, and they were just like, where do you get these ideas from? Right.
Yeah. Such an imagination, right?
Yeah. At
Um,
that age, right? When you think grade 4, I mean, you're only like 10 years old.
yeah, yeah. All right. Young Ninja writes, "Hi, Sam and Rudy. In this move into the new Earth, I feel we are seeing all the past human race control structures break down and change. Cryptocurrency being the first clearly visible shift regarding monetary policy, governance, ownership of finances, etc. What do you feel the next big visible system shift will be? For example, new systems in nutrition, community, relationships, spirituality, education, media, etc. Thank you."
Well, the next big one, I think, other than cryptocurrencies, is going to be the discovery of people like me.
All
I
right.
think that there's more people than ever in the world, because remember, there was a whole bunch of people like me who were murdered by their fellow man in the, which one was it, through Europe, that there was a crusade through Europe, and they murdered. It was like literally people who had second sight.
Oh, the Inquisition or
This
the
is it, the
okay.
Inquisition. They killed
Yeah.
them, and then there was the Salem witch trials,
Hmm.
and they murdered a lot of people who were like me
Yeah.
as well. So those family lines were stomped out, because I don't know if these women had children or not, or if their children were also killed. I don't know
Yeah.
the story about that, but yeah, so that's probably why so many of those of us who are left come through the Irish
Okay.
family lines, because that group of people were not included, and they were saved from the Inquisition. That's what I was told, because I was like, why are so many
Yeah.
of the mediums of Irish heritage? Like, why is it through those family lines? And it's like, well, because humankind just killed off people that had second sight and abilities that could have saved them from famine and from hurricanes and from, I mean, look at all the good work that we're doing together just
Yeah.
with my ability. So I feel like there's so many more people like me, and I really want to get the word out there, because a lot of children who have these abilities, they suffer for it. And it would be nice if they could even go to a school, where they could learn.
Yeah. I always like that on the paranormal channel, or I forget where Chip Coffey has where
Mm.
those show where he had helped these kids and kind of helped them
Yeah.
realize what their gifts were. So I always thought that was a neat
Yeah.
approach.
Because you can see, like, when they tell their stories, you can
Mhm.
tell that they're suffering for it. I mean,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, when I think about at my grandmother's house, like those demonic entities and all of the stuff that happened. And, you know, I would see things move and everything. Oh my gosh. And, you know, when you're a kid, you kind of get used to it. I'll be straight up with you. You do. You get used to it, but oh, it would have been so much better if I had had somebody who could have taught me and reassured me that, you know, I was sort of doing the right things to keep these things at bay. Because, you know, you never know for sure because
Yeah.
you don't have a grown up teaching you. You're kind of just left to your own devices. And I feel bad about that. I'm like, well, you know, with the media today, there's no reason why kids who have what I have can't be helped. And, you know, if we could figure out what percentage of the population have these abilities, I bet you anything that there's probably like 10 times more in like the younger
Yeah.
generation, like the
Hmm.
new one, than what there is like right now. Cause I mean, look at me and then my children. Well, there's two of them,
Yeah.
both 100%. We're batting 100% there.
Yeah. And they're not suppressing it like we were probably brought up to suppress it. So,
Yeah, I mean, they
um,
do shows about it, and
mhm.
that movie that on Netflix that Ewan McGregor's in, it's it said it's The Shining Part 2. I
Oh, I
can't
haven't
remember
seen that.
watching The Shining, but I was watching that with my husband, and then I said, the lead actress, I forget what her name is, but she was on United States of Terra. She was the lead. I really enjoyed. I'm actually thinking about having me and my daughter watching the United States of Terror. I really liked that series a long time ago. Um, but she was the head of this group of what I would call demons, and they had lived on the earth for, you know, hundreds of years, some of them. And what they would do is they would stalk people like me because if they could kill us and get our souls, they lived off of it. Like they called it steam, right? And they
Yeah.
called us shine. They said that you shine,
Okay.
right? But anyways, I explained to my husband, I said they did a really good job of, you know, because I mean, obviously there are not human demons roaming the world in like this caravan, like because they were in like these
Yep.
camper trailer caravans, sort of camping wherever they wanted to go because they would go to look for, and then they would try to kidnap, you know,
Yeah.
mediums and kill them when they're children because they're like sitting ducks, right? Um, but I said to my husband, I was like, yeah, I said, this is an interesting movie because there's a lot of things a lot of points that they're making that are true. I said, but I talked to him about how, as I use my abilities,
Mhm.
you know, I just tell him, I'm like, I can't be around like any craziness, right?
Yeah.
There can't be any screaming and hollering going on. I just can't be around the BS that a lot of people are around on a regular basis because of my abilities and I'm leveling up. And I feel like that really pulls me down. But I did tell him, I said, it's almost like these roving band of demonic entities. It's like you get their attention when you're doing this type of stuff and they will harass you and bother you because they don't want you to do the things that you're doing. But I did find the movie, I found it very interesting
Okay.
and it was interesting to watch. And a lot of people will watch that and they are aware that there are people who have abilities. And it was funny because these two, they could read each other's minds. They didn't have to speak to one another. They could just talk through, and it didn't matter where they were. They could talk to each other.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a Doctor Sleep is the Ewan McGregor film that's kind of like
Yeah.
that sequel to The Shining. So, all right. Matt Zelenko with a life purpose question. Should life be a mere attempt to come across as a nice dude or dudess on the end of life review? So, Sam, how do we want our end of life reviews to go?
Well, make sure you use your talents. Don't be lazy. That's the worst thing I think can happen is that when you don't use your talents, you have these talents and you just, what did you do with your talents? Oh, well, you just helped your family. You just did for yourself. You didn't do anything to help mankind, you know. But I think I'm preaching to the converted
Yeah.
here because we all found each other. And I would explain to people in later years who will inquire and say, why were you allowed as a medium to give people the right picks on cryptos? And many of them became millionaires. And I would point out to them, well, first of all, most people invested in cryptos became millionaires. They didn't need my help. The difference between me and a lot of other people is that a lot of people here didn't just make a few 100,000,
Mhm.
right? They made life changing, significant money, but it's only because of a medium telling you this stuff that you would hold it from like 4 cents to $100 kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you wouldn't jump off. A lot of people actually jumped off of Doge when it was like 1.2 cents. I'm like, when did you cash it in? Oh, I've cashed in at 1.2 cents. I'm like, oh man, like, what did you do that for? Right. Or 4 cents. Right. So they're like going, oh, I hate that. Right. I'm like, but I told you it was going to $1. I knew it was going to $1. I mean, why didn't you just even hold it to at least 25 cents? Right. Right. It's my first jump off. But the whole point about all that is that, we are going to go forth and we're going to do good things
Yeah.
with our money to help humanity. So that's another thing that, and I'm not saying, listen, there's nothing wrong with, getting an upgrade on your home or buying yourself a nice new vehicle or something. But I feel like everybody here is going to do something to help to make the world a better place, and not just help like their immediate family. And I do my best to help people avoid, because you'll get in trouble if you give that money to a deadbeat in your family instead of helping somebody. Like whatever you do not give your crypto wealth to a deadbeat. Like if you've got 3 kids and one of them is a deadbeat, like don't give my crypto wealth to them, please. We've all like really struggled for this together. And, I would feel really bad if some deadbeat kid got a whole bunch of money and went out and just drank it all to the ground and just drank it, peed it in the toilet. And then, that kid's, that gym that was going to be built to help with wayward youth never got built in the inner city. I just really feel so strongly about, putting money towards helping, even if you create a business where you can consistently have good cash flow coming in, and then you can donate every single year and actually support something. That's another thing that, our our work is never going to be done. I'll tell you that. It's not going to
I
be
don't
done.
get to be a hermit in the woods, but I'm also looking forward to my adventures with my Sam Jam friends. So, Jojo writes, "Hi," or Jojo, or sorry, not Jojo, Joe123. "Hi Sam, I live in New Jersey and we have a governor's election in a few weeks. I can really feel the sentiment moving away from Murphy. That being said, these elections are full of fraud, so who knows what will happen. Do you feel Murphy will be voted out?" So Sam, this would be the electorate starting to vote and get the crooks out of office. What do you think?
Nah,
No, they're not
no,
ready.
not New Jersey.
Okay.
No, New Jersey is going to be, you know what? It doesn't matter because it's too late for New Jersey. I would leave New Jersey. I'd be like, nope, because they're not going to change and stop what they're doing until they have to,
Yeah.
until they're absolutely forced to. I mean, it was a big wake up call for, who was it who had to leave their home? It was in Australia. Somebody had to leave their home.
Yeah, there was they call it one of the rallies they called out and somebody shouted the name of the address, so they made a big thing out of that they were getting threatened. And I think it's going to become more common actually.
I mean, look, when I was 12 years old, there was a person going around our school and they were bullying people. And like, I called up her mother. I told her, I was 12 years old and this 15-year-old was bullying her and she was threatening me. I ended up having to fight her anyways. It was a bad day for her and her friend because both of them, oh my gosh. Anyways, I won't even go there on that. But I called up her mother when she threatened me at school in the hallway. I didn't even do anything. And I told her mother, I was like, your daughter has been bullying people at this school for a while. I said, maybe I need to come over there and kick you around that house. Let you know what it's feel like to have some bully come over and beat you up. I said, I bet you're 2 apples tall, just like she is. I had no problem with you, lady. I mean, I'm sure she was dying that this 12-year-old was going to come over to her house and like beat her ass. Sorry. But I was that mad that, I can't go to school in peace without this piece of garbage. Like, and I wasn't even doing anything. It's like, she like says something to me in the hallway and I'm like, yeah, well, at least my face doesn't look like a side of an axe hit it. Because I'm not going to let someone talk to me like that, right? You talk to me like that, I'm not sending love back, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Because that's not what you do to evil, right? You let evil know that you're going to stand up against it. And yeah, come here, come a little bit closer. You're not close enough saying that to me, right? Because the bullet, they always listen, evil always backs up. It makes threats. It tries to degrade you, but do not be taken in. You are much more powerful when you make a decision that you're going to fight against it. So I don't feel like the people in New Jersey are ready for that. I think they need to be significantly cowed down. I think they need to lose a lot of value on their property. I think they have to have some roving violent gangs roving through New Jersey because their checks have been canceled, because we're going through this liquidity crisis and all of this, government money that they think they can print. It's like, oh, well, you can't print it anymore. What, do you think these people are just going to go out, that they're going to be able to get a job just like that?
Yeah.
I mean, people get hungry pretty quick, right? You can get hungry from the time you leave your house and you start going looking for a job, and then you got to wait for your paycheck. So, like I said, good plans are not being laid out in some of these places where they're just printing, and throwing this money out there. It is going to be such a horrible disaster when it comes to a screeching halt. And I would wish, Joe, that I could tell you that things were going to change for New Jersey, but I am afraid not.
Yeah, I was just visiting family in St. Louis, and I noticed the streets are getting worse, the potholes, and I, tried to, hey guys, what are you voting for here? This things are getting worse,
Mm.
but they're just going to keep living with it. Justin has an interesting question here. Do you see another great free market thinker on the horizon? The last one I could think of was Milton Friedman. I'm sure there are free market thinkers, but not anyone who was a vocal genius like Milton Friedman was. He really pushed our collective understanding of how the free market worked.
Right. Yes, Milton Freeman. Geez, that's a name. That's a name from the past, isn't it? Gosh, I don't even know, how many years ago did he pass away?
I don't even
Milton
remember,
Freeman.
but you study him in economics if you're in any of your college courses for sure. My favorite though, Justin, is Ron Swanson from the Parks and Recreation. He hates government. He said, "Sit down for business should be as simple as I have an apple. You would like to buy the apple. It's as simple as that. You don't need any government in between, right? That's a free market."
He lived to be quite old, actually, Milton Freeman. He lived to be right into his 90s,
Uh,
94, it looks like. So good for him. But I don't think we're going to need any free market thinkers, Justin, because blockchain is going to take over. And that's why I don't mind leading the charge for blockchain, because I do feel like it's going to lift people out of poverty. And most importantly, it's going to get rid of corruption right at the core. And then with all of these people being literally, like, if they don't end up in jail, the public will get them.
okay.
Right. Some of them will actually show up at the jailhouse and ask for protection.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like Julie's comment. What about Raoul Paul? He seems like a pretty smart guy and is able to communicate over the YouTube media pretty well.
Yeah, and I appreciate what he's doing because, like me, he got into financial services, I think, like, around, I think, he said he was licensed in 89 or something. So yeah, I was just 2 years ahead of him on that, and we went in totally different directions, but still, with whatever we did, we had to know
Okay. Yeah.
about what we're talking about. And I appreciate so much that, somebody who's that senior in that position has decided to take on cryptos. And what I like about it is that he wants people to learn
Yeah.
about cryptocurrencies. He's not just, oh, buy this, buy that. He's
Yeah.
like, learn about it and understand that this is the future. And he's putting together a whole educational section on, cryptocurrency. So I feel like someone like him is just, expanding it to the community quicker. And then we will reach that level of enlightenment when it comes to blockchain that much quicker. But it's all on course, right? Like, this is all
Yeah.
part of the plan. It's like, those of us who are in the know as mediums in the early days, we jump on and we get involved and we start doing our little YouTube channels. And then other developers who are into cryptocurrencies and blockchain, they do their channels and stuff. And then you have, the bigger boys come along who go, hey, what's going on here, everybody? Right.
Well,
And
and
then
I
they
love
look into it.
Yeah, and I love those people who are willing to change their opinions on things. And Ralph Paul is one that's always, he had one thought. He's, now I see it this way. And I think that's always very important to find people that, kind of have that perspective and are willing to change it. So Delbara, let's skip Delbara's question. That's more of a crypto question for tomorrow, and we'll go on to the next one, which is from Michelle. Hi, Sam. This is the first time to listen to Rudy's Psychic Meetup since I am a normie and I joined Patreon mostly for cryptos. I noticed I listened to my gut and intuition more recently. Are people in general getting more connected to something, consciousness, or the spiritual side? I think something is going on with me becoming more intuitive versus logical in the past. I also feel we're in battle with good and evil, people in control. Are we in end times from the Bible or just entering a new era?
Well, we're really entering a new era. It is the end times as the Bible talks about it, where they talked about the division within the home, that the youth will be against, the mother against father,
Yeah.
that's what they're talking about. Um, and it is a battle against between good and evil. And that's why I'm involved in it. That's why I was called, to service, just like 2.5 years ago. And I mean, I was called to service a little bit before that, but I kept, like I told you guys, I kept splitting off, and they would take me and they'd put me here and I'd be like, no, I'm not. And then I'd start, they go, you're going here. No, I'm not. And I'd start splitting off the other direction. Nope, you're doing that. Okay. All right. And then when they showed me that girl fall down before she fell down, and they said, if you don't do this, people are going to get hurt, I was like, ah, man, you got me. Okay. All right. Now now you're straight up. People are actually physically going to get hurt if I do not do this. All right. A bunch of people. Okay. I believe you now, because you literally told me this lady was going to fall flat on her face long before there was any clue that she might be struggling to, walk properly. Right. You know what I mean? It was like, that was my tipping point. And since then, I've had conversations with people on the other side, and they've brought up some biblical quotes for me, because that's what I know, right?
Okay.
Being brought up Catholic, that's what I'm aware of. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that, the Christian way is the right way or anything at all like that. I'm just talking about what I know from what I've learned. And I haven't read the, what's the Jewish
The
Torah,
Talmud, the
the
Torah,
Talmud.
the Talmud. Well, is
I
Talmud
thought
Torah?
Talmud and I thought Torah.
Torah is
So,
the first five books of the Bible, I think. I
okay.
forget all this. I knew this when I was in eighth grade.
Right, right. Well, I know none of it, right? So that's my point about it, is that I can only talk about, what I know, but I do know that they and the big one that stands out to me is when Jesus said that he is not going to return. He talked about it being that it would be like more like war
Mm,
when he returned. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Talked about what it was going to be like. And I was like, yeah, that's why the soldiers were sent this time.
Okay.
It's like, I always say, people are like, oh, what's going on? I'm like, I'll give you a clue. No one's getting nailed to the cross this time.
Arcane Voodoo wants some rules of the road. What types of questions can be asked here in the forum? So generally, we stick to woo-woo here. We avoid the crypto questions and we avoid the personal questions. And anything else, Sam? That's pretty much
Just,
it.
it's all pretty much just woo woo. And, or if people are asking about stuff that's going on in the world too, usually it's attached to the woo woo. But
Yep.
yeah.
All right. And then I think you already talked about Fred's cat there, so we'll skip on to Sue G's question. Sue G says, hi guys, I was in Michael's yesterday and noticed the shelves were half empty. Very odd. Do you see this happening in grocery stores as well? I'm in Eastern Canada. Should I be stocking up on food? Thanks.
You know what, Sue? I was thinking the same thing the other day. I went to the grocery store this morning, and I was there like right when it opened at 7 o'clock. So I was like, no, that was yesterday morning. I was there at 7 o'clock in the morning. But I went in, I told my daughter, I was like, yeah, I said half of the meats weren't in there. I said, but I'm sure it's because the butcher was probably just getting in,
Yeah.
for the day kind of thing. So I wasn't too worried. So our shelves have not been very empty here, but it's been a bit hit and miss in other places. And I wouldn't know what to tell you to stock up on, because I feel like it's going to be a lot of stop and go. It's going
Yeah.
to be a lot of, there's not going to be like, oh, you can't get any food at all. It's, there's no corn on the cob, there's no peas, there's no boneless, skinless breast of chicken,
Yeah.
right? There's a number of things. Okay, we don't have any of these, but we have this,
Yeah.
So it starts to turn into like Soviet style kind of, like I remember when I was in Cuba, and when you went to the grocery store, I mean, you definitely couldn't get everything that you wanted. You had to kind of just make do with whatever was there. I actually don't even recall being able to buy any meat, because I apologized to the lady that I bought all the groceries for because the son had offered me to come over for dinner. And I
Uh-huh.
was like, oh, well, why don't you let me go to the grocery store? I can bring some stuff. Right. And he was like, oh, that would be great. And they went through the grocery store with me. It was the American Dollar one. And you could tell they had never been in it before. And they were like, and I was like, pick a candy bar. And they didn't know what to pick. They were like, which one's good? And I'm like, oh, Three Musketeers. You'll like those. Right. So they were all excited about that. But as far as what's going to go on, I feel like, again, it's hit and miss. I just ordered a new fridge and stove for my beach house because my beach house is about been around 13 years now.
Yeah.
So, and the older appliances, how they don't last like they used to. So my fridge and my stove are working fine, but I'm thinking about the shortages. So again, um,
Yeah.
there might be, and I was thinking about, there was peaches on sale I was actually thinking it was really expensive for this can of peaches. I can't remember what it was, but I was like, oh, that's, they're letting you get 2 for $4. I think somehow that is not a good deal, but now today it is, right? And I was thinking, and then I was like, oh, canned fruit. Okay, well, that might be an idea. It might be an idea to get some canned fruit. That might be a
Yeah.
hard one to get, like peaches and pears, and because you try to think about, what healthy stuff can I get in case they run out of it in the store.
Yeah, and we're so used to be able to get whatever we want whenever we want it. Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but a couple weeks ago I was in the store and like all the 2% milk was out. Well, my son was with me and I said, "Watch this," and I just go in the back and I loaded up some milk, and while I'm back there, I see some hands coming in there. Right, so some of it I think is people like they don't have the people to stock the shelves, so it's not necessarily a shortage. But don't be afraid to walk in the stock room. No one's going to tell you to get out. Anyway, all right. So let's go. Next question is from Rise and Shine. Hi, Sam and Rudy. Just wondering who will be the next president of the Philippines next year? The son of former dictator Marcos, or the president, vice president, or the president Manila mayor? Thanks.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, Rise and Shine. I don't have any answer for that one. Um, Next president of the Philippines next year. Doesn't he have a daughter? Isn't he trying to like groom her to be the leader? The
Marcos or
Philippines? Well, it says the son of the former dictator.
so Ferdinand Marcos, he has a son, and that I think they're wondering if it's going to be the son. I heard something about him recently, so interesting. She was the one, his wife. What was her name? The one with all the shoes.
Oh, really?
What was her name? I can't remember. But yeah, that was the one they stole all this money. But wow. But I think the current president or the current president of the Philippines, he's the one that is advocate like they kill criminals. Um, very strict. Imelda, thank you, Alana. Imelda Marcos.
Okay, because I thought it was like Duarte
Yeah, that's the
president.
current. He's the current one. Yeah.
Huh.
But you've
I
said before, Stan, that the Philippines in general is going to be one that's going to go through some rough times as well, right?
Oh yeah, I was like, don't even think about moving there. That's on the
Okay.
no list.
Okay. All right. It looks like our last question of the night is from Natalie. Hi, Sam. Do you see a civil war starting in Lebanon? I have so much family there, and I'm very afraid for them.
A civil war. Okay, Natalie, I'm going to give you a heads up. I had a blab about Israel and Iran getting into it, and that somehow Lebanon would be involved, but it wouldn't be the country, it would be factions. That would maybe Hezbollah would drag them into it. So, yeah, I would definitely make a priority, getting your family out of there. But I don't see it as civil war. I see it as more dangerous type of war where some, big weapons and stuff are going to be dropped
Okay.
on Beirut again. I was very upset about that because a lot of people who, if you weren't around in earlier days back in 2019, I started making a lot of noise about Lebanon back then, but it was because the building I was living in, the grandmother,
Yeah.
matriarch, had passed on and was giving me a lot of information about the future. And of course, it was very frustrating because like nobody listened to anything that I had to say, and I wasn't able to help anybody. So that's discouraging. And I just want to give Fred a heads up. Like I did see your question about the cat, and it's only that because we're on Rudy's psychic meetup that I can't answer personal reading questions because there are, over 600 people, like over 700 actually, who have
Yeah.
access and can post questions for Rudy's Psychic Meetup. So, and the reason why I'm changing, like I'm adding the Advanced Plus, is because so many people, they have a cat that's ill. They have somebody who's gotten a really bad diagnosis, and they're reaching out to me for some of that relief from their anxiety. And I didn't actually get an answer about Fred's cat. So I just wanted to confirm with him that I wasn't ignoring him. And the reason why I prayed in tongues for his cat is because I am going to ask for healing. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Why shouldn't Fred's cat have a couple more years of snugs and cuddles with him before he passes over to the other
And
side
Sam, before we
here?
close tonight, when will the advanced be open? Because I know people are probably going to want to jump into that. Is it just for people that are currently at the advanced that can get to the advanced plus, or will it open on November 1st?
Well, we're not able to limit or
Okay.
close from the public. When we open it for registration, we open it. So what I was
Okay.
going to do is just go into the advanced, and I was just going to give you guys a heads up and just say I'm just in the process of
Okay.
opening it. And the other thing too is it's not like I'm only going to have 10 or 20 seats in there. I've canceled all of my openings for readings for the public for November because I want to spend that month trying to figure out how many hours every week extra that I'm spending on, answering people's personal questions that they're direct messaging me. Because everybody's, people are starting to do it like a lot more than usual. And I'm like, obviously, this is something that people seriously want to be able to do with me. And, you
Yeah.
know, I just can't be available for that many readings. So this is kind of, like I said, this is kind of a really good solution, I think, because really who wants to have to spend $350 and schedule
Yeah.
a time and wait 2 weeks, maybe more, to meet with me. And when really all you have is just one question, you're like, I'll just go in the Discord. And then by that night, oh, look, Sam gave me an answer. And it's either I have no idea, or give me some more information, like give me some more conversation to read, or a lot of times I usually have the answer like
Yeah.
right away. So like I said, on November 1st, I'll go into advanced, I'll make that announcement.
Okay.
And there are some actually basic members who are waiting for advanced people to clear out their seats so
Okay.
they can have your seats. So, I mean, hey, everybody's a winner, right?
Well, that's I
Exciting.
was hoping for maybe like a 20-minute check-in special, but I think this will actually solve that nicely because many of us don't have a ton of questions. We just have maybe one or two things we want to check with you, so that'll be perfect.
Yeah, and that's what I thought. It would be perfect. I just wanted to see if the number of hours that I was calculating, because I mean, if you're going to release 120 seats, already not everybody. I find people save it up, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, like people will say nothing to me for like 6 or 7 months, and then just boom. I mean,
Yeah.
major crap is going sideways in their life. So we pretty
Yeah.
much spend about 2 or 3 days back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah.
So,
And I
that's the
don't.
same difference.
Yeah, and a lot of us even hold off on the ask a medium because it's like, okay, there's a lot of questions there, so if it's not important. But all right,
Yeah.
well, looking forward to those upcoming
All right.
changes, Sam, and looking forward to tomorrow's meetup with Moo Ant. Wait to see
I
what's next for
know.
cryptos.
All right. Fantastic. Thanks so much again, everyone, for hanging out. And for those people who are listening on the podcast, thanks so much again for listening in on Rudy's Psychic Meetup, and looking forward to meeting up again with you, Rudy, in another 2 weeks.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye for now.